Let me show you something before we start the video.
30 years he has struggled with a dangerous drug addiction that nearly destroyed him. And today he says he's clean, he's in love. And so by the time you're in prison, that's not rock bottom for you?
Nope. It's easy to embrace hopelessness when things seem insurmountable. And yet it's actually just a matter of time until all of the elements come together for things to be all right. I mean, I believe that, most difficult situations will resolve themselves if you are persistent and if you don't give up entirely. And that's what I never did. I never gave up.
That is Robert Downey Jr. We all know him as Iron Man. He was a former drug addict, jailed 5 times, raised by a single mother, and rejected as an actor more times than my fingers could count. Who is now?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Okay, technically he's not a billionaire, but he is a brilliant actor with so many accolades to his name, and he is worth $300 million, and that is not an amount you want to scoff off. But he will not be where he is right now if he gave up. So using his story and so many more, for example from Sylvester Stallone, or we know him as John Rambo from my guys who used to watch the old action movies, and CR7, the GOAT, the killing machine, the goal machine himself, I want to equip you with what you need to make a comeback, to get yourself back up from a situation, no matter how big it is, no matter how the failure looks like, to get yourself back up, and you'll be stronger, faster, and better. What is up, my G's? Hope you're doing well. Welcome to Strive, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Long Gatia. Our mission here is simple and clear: to build the next generation of men and women the world desperately, and I mean desperately, needs. Welcome back. Today's episode is we're going to be talking about how to make a comeback after a huge setback. How to make a comeback after a huge setback or failure. So before we continue on, if building your character or personal development is something that you want to focus on, I highly believe that subscribing to this channel is one of the best decisions you will make this year, this month, today, or even this hour, or even this minute. Thank you very much. If you've done that, let's get into the video in 3, 2, and 1. Failure is something that you can't really escape from. It's an inevitability. It's something that you will constantly face, especially if you're someone who is in the pursuit of bettering themselves, of improvement. It doesn't matter whichever area it is. It can be finances, it can be business, it can be relationship-wise. It doesn't matter the pursuit that you're in. If you're improving yourself, you will encounter failure, setbacks, and obstacles. And some will be more severe than others. But that's not even the scary part. The most terrifying part is how many people have given up on their dreams because they didn't really know how to get themselves back up. They didn't really know how to pull themselves out of that abyss. And with the inevitability of failure being always in the way, I want to equip you with what you need to be fail-proof. Fail-proof is basically a word that I came up with to basically describe what I mean by getting yourself back up and always getting yourself back up no matter the situation that you face. Luckily, I have a simple strategy for you. And this simple strategy consists of 3 simple steps which aim to solve 2 psychological phenomena that hold people back from making a comeback, that hold people back or makes them stay in the situation that they are in right now. They don't want to bring themselves out because they don't know how to, not just because they don't know how to, because there's a psychological process or there's a psychological phenomenon that they don't know how to get themselves out of that is keeping them at bay. The first psychological phenomenon, I have said that word so many times, is analysis paralysis. Analysis paralysis is you constantly overthink a situation when in reality it's not as bad as you think it is. I think you've got yourself in that situation so many times. Then the second one is repression. Repression is another word for emotional suppression. Suppressing those bad feelings and those negative feelings back to the subconscious mind, to your heart, to the dark parts of your soul. And we all know suppressing your emotions will give you some temporary relief, but eventually it doesn't solve the real problem. So those are the 2 things that people face. And these three-step strategies aims to solve all of those things, those two psychological phenomena. And also I'm going to be mentioning some others along the video. So here is the first step. Accepting reality brutally fast. This is about cutting through the denial that usually people go through, and also the cycle of repression or psychological, not psychological, but the cycle of emotional suppression. Have you ever noticed how the problem always gets bigger and worse and badder and not so good? The more you try to avoid it, the more you try to avoid a situation, the bigger and worse it gets in your brain. And that is because suppressed emotions actually intensify over time and fuel anxiety. But the simple act of just acknowledging what is happening, acknowledging the reality, no matter how harsh, no matter how brutal it is the first step towards breaking that circuit. So this is you and your anxiety, but the first thing that most people actually avoid is just accepting it. Accepting that this is my reality, this is what is happening, no matter how bad it is. I will accept it and I will move on from this. So most people try to skip that step of acceptance. Self-acceptance is the first step. And this is exactly what Sylvester Stallone did when I was researching this video for great examples that I can use to actually inspire you to be able to do so, to do what you need to do to be able to accept your situation. So this is what Sylvester Stallone did. At rock bottom, he was rejected by Hollywood so many times, even I think more times than Robert Downey Jr., if I remember correctly. He was rejected over 45 times. Rejected by Hollywood, he was nearly penniless. He was broke until the point he needed to sell his dog called Butkus. Yeah, his name was called Butkus. I don't know, for $40, and then he bought him back for $15,000. But at that point, he had nothing to eat. He had nothing literally to eat, and also no place to stay. So he needed to sell his dog. But facing all that, he wasn't in denial. He didn't reject what was happening. He accepted the situation. He looked reality square in the eye and felt every sting of the situation that he was in, and he didn't waste energy rejecting that this situation wasn't happening to him. Psychologically, this kind of brutal acceptance is the first step, as I've said, is the first step towards recovering agency over your life. Agency is just basically, think about it as the capacity to do something. Most of the time when people are facing failure, deep in the subconscious they feel like, I can't do anything right now. I don't have the ability to do anything right now. But the moment you accept, it recovers that agency in your life. That capacity for you to do something comes back to you. And also, it's not about wallowing in self-pity or in despair. It's about facing the pain head on, facing the pain as it is. And when you do this, you do something very powerful. You relinquish the power from this situation towards yourself. It loses power over you, and that power comes to you. So that is the first step. Accept reality brutally fast. And the key words are very fast, brutally fast, without forgiveness, without anything, without painting, sugarcoating it. Accept it brutally fast. Now, once you've accepted reality, the next step is to steer clear of analysis paralysis, the mental trap where you relive the situation that you were in so many times from different angles, from northeast, northwest, southwest, east, west, whatever the west, from every single angle, hoping for a different ending. And we all know that really doesn't happen that much. It doesn't really happen that much. The alternative to this is reframing the narrative. So what is reframing the narrative? So in psychology, this is known as cognitive reframing. Cognitive reframing is just training your mind to interpret situations and events in a new, empowering way. Think of what Steve Jobs did. Steve Jobs was the owner and CEO of Apple, but he was fired from his own company. Imagine. So instead of wallowing and dissecting the situation by asking himself, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Which he could have done and just kept himself in that situation that he was in. he forced himself to see the setback as a launchpad. He took time away and forced himself to reinvent himself. He forced himself to reinvent himself. And with that time away, he started new ventures like Pixar. I think we all know the company Pixar. And if you don't know Pixar, Pixar is the company, the studio that brought us great animations like Incredibles, Cars 1, 2, and 3, Planes. What else? I don't remember the other ones, but also great movies were brought by Pixar. And after reinventing himself, he was also brought back to Apple, where he saved the entire company from bankruptcy, and he's now Apple is now worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. Wow, which is actually an incredible feat. So Steve Jobs didn't repress the disappointments, and he didn't refuse. He refused, to let his mind be tangled up with the endless what ifs, which usually back people up or find people in certain situations. So instead, he milked the situation for lessons. So he was asking himself, or he asked himself these questions for my analysis. What skills did he need to develop? Or what skill did I need to develop if I was Steve Jobs? What weaknesses did it reveal about me? What habits that I have that were challenged by this situation? So those are the questions that he asked himself. So this mindset shift doesn't really it doesn't erase the pain. It lets you harness the pain while at the same time feeling the raw emotion and pinching that comes with the pain. Especially emotional pain is actually very powerful if you know how to harness it, which cognitive reframing allows you to do, harnessing that situation and power. You quite literally, when you do this, you quite literally build resilience by assigning meaning to your hardship. You assign meaning to your hardship, and in turn, you build mental, physical, and also emotional resilience. So, to be able to practice cognitive reframing, I want you to do this. 2 simple things. What can I learn from this situation? That is the first question you should ask yourself. Come up with 3, come up with 5, no more than 5. More than 5 are just unnecessary. And also usually the first 3 are the ones which make sense. So what can I learn from this situation? And number 2, how could this detour serve me? Don't see it as a failure. See it as a detour. You were on this path, but now you've diverted. Yes, you'll feel the emotional pain, but I want you to reframe it as not a failure, but as a detour. Because when you see it as a failure, you'll just be sticking yourself in the same situation. So first of all, we've accepted, and then now we reframe. So in this podcast, for those who are new, we usually do journaling, and I highly advise that you do journaling and also write some notes down for whatever situation, for whatever lessons that you learn. Sometimes I might not say things that are in my notes. Sometimes they may come out of my mind, and they might be precious. So if you feel that anything that I'm saying right now might be precious to you, I highly encourage that you grab a journal and start writing. You can share your notes, not even your notes, your thoughts in the comments below. Hey, what's up? Before we continue, I want to thank everyone for watching this far of the video or listening this far to the podcast. I am very thankful, and I'm thankful to every subscriber and every viewer who watches all of my videos till the end, also to any point. And I want to highly encourage everyone, if you want to focus on self-development, please subscribe to this channel and also give this video a like. It really helps a lot. Thank you very much for doing that. It will only take you 2 good seconds and you'll be up to it. 3, 2, and 1. Thank you very much. The first 2 steps were about mental work. The first 2 steps were majorly about mental work. Now we want to get our bodies moving. And we do this through micro wins. Micro wins is a strategy that we will use to get our bodies moving and also to pull ourselves out of that emotional abyss that we usually place ourselves in. Now, micro wins, or not micro wins, but big comebacks look very great on people. Big comebacks. You see people succeeding and getting themselves out of a very big situation. Big comebacks look great on paper. But in reality, Progress really happens in very tiny increments, baby steps. Do you remember the time you got a very good grade in high school? Yeah. It didn't really happen overnight. It happened 6 weeks before the exams. You were studying for 1 hour, for 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes 30 minutes in a whole day because you had a lot of assignments. That is where success really comes from. And it snowballs over time. So tiny wins or micro wins is what we'll use for this other step. Micro wins are just basically little commitments and small victories that build two things. Number one, ignition energy. And number two, maintenance energy. I want to use the reference of a car gear or the gears of a car to get yourself from zero with a manual car to get yourself from 0 to 60, or not from 0 to 60, from 0 to 30, the initial type of speed and power that is required to start the car is really, really powerful. From 0 to 30 or 0 to 60, that's gear 1, gear 2. Gear 1 and gear 2 are the most powerful gears, but they're not speediest. They're the most powerful to propel the car, to propel the vehicle forward. Now that's ignition energy. Ignition energy is the initial spark that you get when you want to start doing something. This the initial spark that you get when you want to start doing something. It's the hardest one to get. Now, maintenance energy, with the reference of a car gear, is the third gear to the sixth gear. The third gear to the sixth gear is usually not the most powerful. It can't propel the car forward. It can't really push the car to start moving. No, it can't. It's usually the speediest. It's usually the one that helps the car maintain long distance and a long speed for a longer time. So, for example, it's from 50, it goes to 60, it maintains 60 for a while, and then it goes to 55, and then it goes to 60, it goes to gear 4, it goes to 80, maintains 80 for a while on Dicker Road or whatever road or area that you are in that has a highway, and then goes down and goes down, and then maintains for a while. That's maintenance energy. Maintenance energy is just the energy that is used to maintain long periods of work for a long period of time. That's maintenance energy, the one that you use to study for 12 hours. I have a friend who studies a whole lot, and also 2 hours of works, 2 hours of running, 2 hours of a workout. So that's the maintenance energy. But the energy that is usually used to get yourself from this point to this point and now to this point, now that's ignition energy, the most difficult one. But getting ignition energy and maintenance energy all comes down to the micro wins step of this strategy. Sorry, let me open my laptop just real quick just to look at my notes. So psychologically, when you achieve these little wins, they trigger something called dopamine. And dopamine is just the reward system. And in turn, this teaches your brain to crave productive work. When you do something hard and then you feel good about it, you'd want to feel good again. So your brain will say, hey, let's do this difficult thing so we can feel good. Now, when you do that over time, your brain will start craving hard things. You'd start craving productive work. You'd start craving studying, craving the hard work, craving the workouts, because you know at the end, no matter how brutal this period is, at the end, you will feel so energized and so good. And that's how you teach your brain to crave hard things. Now, for whoever is in a rut right now, whoever is in a big, bad situation, an emotional abyss, whoever even can't take themselves out of bed, can't even bathe, can't even brush their teeth, I want you to do something so small, like the littlest of things. Can you make 0.1 progress? That is the thing I want you to do, my friend. So the first thing, you can make your bed. You can get out and get some sunlight. You can send an application. You can go for a short jog. You can write 2 sentences or even 2 words of that project or in your journal. It doesn't have to be something grandiose. It can be something so small. But I promise you, over time, it will build momentum. And momentum is where we want to get. I always tell my girlfriend, we need to get that momentum moving. That is the most important thing. Doesn't matter where we're applying it, but I just want to get you to understand that momentum, I think you can also relate, that is what we need. That's what we need to achieve. And we'll get that through micro wins, the baby steps. So each small chance, whenever you, no matter how small it is, I want you to know this. Each small chance is that each small action that you want to commit towards is a chance to prove to yourself that I can create change and I'm not a prisoner of my circumstances. The reason you're still there is because your subconscious mind truly believes, and this is your own fault, by the way. You've taught it to believe that, hey, this is my situation and I can get myself out of it. Basically, that's it. Because the subconscious mind records everything that your conscious mind runs or tells itself, or you tell yourself through your mouth. That's why you're told your tongue is the most powerful thing that you have right now because it will influence a lot of things. So each small action is a chance to prove to yourself that I am not a prisoner of my circumstances. And when you consistently do repeated deliberate action, that's how you change your mindset. So lean into this micro win strategy, especially in those times, micro win steps, sorry, especially in those times when you feel like you can't really do anything. And especially if you're someone who is in the industry, not even the industry, in the pursuit of bettering themselves, you will face this no matter how hard no matter how hard you try to avoid it. It will be 90% of your days. 10% of the days, it will be okay. It will be fun. You'll be energized. It'll be great. But majority of the times, you won't feel like doing it. So the micro win strategy is super, super important. But remember this: deliberate, repeated actions is what reinvents or reinstitutes, not reinstitutes, but rewires, exactly, is what reinvents or rewires your brain or your mindset, not random bursts of energy. Repeated, deliberate is just intentional action, is what you need to rewire your mindset, not random bursts of energy. Think of a candle and fireworks. Both produce light, but which one maintains for a longer period of time? The candle, it's consistent, it's deliberate, it takes its time. But for the fireworks, it will be energizing, it will be great, it will be spectacular, but over time will just die. So, remember the candle and the fireworks. Which one will you be? And just to finish off, I know failure sometimes can feel like it's the end, like everything is kaput. But I want to tell you it's not. Failure is only fatal when you stop moving, when you accept it is, when you accept that that's the final destination. Sylvester Stallone could not be where he is right now if he gave up. Robert Downey Jr. will not be where he is right now if it weren't for him pushing through. Steve Jobs, CR7 himself. CR7, I researched and I found out at 15 he got a heart attack. Imagine, he needed surgery, and if that stopped him, he wouldn't be the goal machine that we know right now. He wouldn't be the 40-year-old, 42-year-old who is pushing limits right now. He's actually fitter than me, and he is 42. Imagine. And all of that could not have happened if he gave up. So my question to you is this, will you give up? Will you let your situation back you up in a corner? I think not after this episode. I highly believe that you will take your time and energy to pull yourself out of that situation. Comment down below, I believe. And let's push each other towards the end. Cheers and God bless.